I woke up to 250,000 followers. No, that can't be real. It's not actually real. And I was like, wait, okay, like, should we keep it going? And then I just kept doing it. And then by the end of the week, it was at 1 million.
We asked you earlier, what'd you want to be when you grew up? And you said famous. Well,
yes.
It's accomplished.
Thank you.
I'm a fan of you.
Like, really?
Obviously, Therapuss. Come on.
I love Jake Shane.
Wait, Jake Shane, is that you?
Whoa.
Today on the Colin and Samir Show, we're joined by Jake Shane. Jake is a TikToker turned podcaster, and I think he's the blueprint for the modern creator.
I think he's just one of the funniest people we've ever had on the show. And he was also named one of the most influential creators of 2024 by Rolling Stone, The Hollywood Reporter, and Forbes. He's basically like one of the most popular people on the internet right now.
This sentence is going to sound ridiculous, but Jake grew his following by doing octopus reviews on TikTok.
As in eating octopus.
And reviewing
it.
It is such a hilarious concept. He does this thing where it's like how many tenths up, like 8 tenths up, like tentacles for how good it is.
Sidebar, I had grilled octopus last night. And that's something we talk about in the episode. Just by chance. I had it last night. I did. I know. Strange. I'm eating more and more octopus.
Because of Jake?
Maybe.
So Jake has over 3.2 million followers on TikTok, where he does these rants, clips from his podcast, as well as these skits and historical reenactments, like when John Hancock signed the Declaration of Independence. That one really got me.
He also reenacted Pluto, as in the planet. When it finds out, it gets kicked out of the solar system. It's not a part of the planets.
So outside of being one of the funniest people we've met, Jake has done some really significant things in the creator economy. He's done something that many creators can't do, bring their short form audience to long form. He's launched a podcast called Therapuss that's in its second season and has hosted guests like Glenn Powell, Brittany Broski, Ed Sheeran. I mean, this podcast like kind of launched and came out of nowhere, and it is just massive on YouTube now. Jake is also bridging the gap between digital entertainment and traditional Hollywood. And he has a lot of thoughts on how he can play a role in reshaping late night.
We sat down with Jake right before he left for his first nationwide tour, and he ended up selling out theaters all over the country. He has built one of the most diehard audiences that we've ever seen.
He's one of those rare personalities on the internet, like a Ryan Trahan or an Emma Chamberlain. He just has it.
He's just got it.
He's just got it.
Whatever it is, Jake's got it.
And so after this conversation with Jake, we'll debrief and talk about the 3 reasons we believe Jake is the blueprint for the modern creator. All right, Jake Shane, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
How do you describe yourself? Like, because you have a background in PR. Like, Give me the PR pitch on Jake Shane.
Do you remember how I was telling you how therapists can't fix their own lives?
Yeah, and then I told you my wife is a therapist.
But her life is great.
Yeah.
Her life is amazing.
Yeah.
An outlier.
Maybe as a PR person, I don't really know how to pitch myself.
You don't know how to pitch
I kind of just like do. I would say like maybe I'm like a personality.
Mm-hmm.
I used to say like comedian, but then I feel like comedians would be like, he's not a comedian. So I'm like, okay, maybe not that. And then I'm like, I think a personality, an online personality. I think that checks out for, right? I don't know.
Is there anyone you look at and think, oh, I'm modeling my career after them, or I'm this person meets that person?
Oh God, I used to have such a good one, and now I'm like forgetting. I think it was like maybe Pete Davidson meets Andy Cohen.
That's what.
Yeah,
Colin said Andy Cohen yesterday.
Yeah, I think it was like Pete Davidson meets Andy Cohen was my that's what I would say. But I love Pete Davidson. I love Andy Cohen. I also like there's like a lot of comedians I look up to, like Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, like Heather McMahon, Whitney Cummings.
So you refer to yourself as an internet personality. I think for me, like the first version of you that I perceive is a writer. Because even when you
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm dead serious. And we talked about this morning, but as I was looking at your work, you're writing frameworks and bits, and then you just so happen to be able to perform them. But the even if you go back to your early origins of like this concept of like, you know, octopus reviews, and then putting the frame around like even shortening the term to puss, and then, exploring like that as a concept is funny. Mm-hmm. To perform it is like, you know, the next step. But even just that concept is funny.
I just like, I was like, I honest to God, I think I made the account when I was, I remember I made the account when I was hungover once, and then I deleted it because I was like, wait, I can't do this. And then I remade it. And it kind of just built. Like, I was like, it all started with like, okay, pass that puss out of 8 tentacles. That's how we're gonna do it. And then I would add a song lyric at the beginning.
Like even that, that's what I'm saying. Like writing that framework in and of itself is funny.
Thank you. It wasn't like like most of those things was just like, oh, it came to me. Like,
Right.
look, hi pussies, I swear to God, came to me in a dream. I swear to God, I woke up.
Divine intervention.
I was like, oh my God, I called my friend. I go, we are getting puss tonight. Like, you have no idea what I just came up with. I'm dead fucking serious. And we went to this place in Larchmont Village. And for the first time, I said, hi, pussies. And then that went over really well and people really liked it. And I was like, okay, like, what if you said it back to me? And then they would, hi, pussies, hi, Jake. And then I was like, okay, tense up. Like, what if we do? And then I was like, should I do this? And then that came about. And then I was like, let's add song lyrics and replace like words with puss. And like, it just, and then, I don't know. Now I'm here.
That's the full story of Jake Shane.
By the way, your meat in a bag is my octopus. Like I couldn't dislike octopus more.
Why?
I don't like the little suction cups on the
Are you
tents.
afraid of small holes?
I would say, yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Like if I showed you
yeah.
like a photo of like a bunch of holes right now, you'd get
Yeah.
like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That checks out. My friends like that.
What's up with that read on me? Where did you?
Just like makes sense. You don't like the tentacles. You don't like the suction cups.
Yeah.
Like checks out.
But I also don't think it's like particularly delicious by any means.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it's
For
like,
me, it just needs to be sufficiently grilled.
Yes.
Like it has to.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. From in my line of work, I have to eat everything. Of
course.
But I
professional.
understand like you can have preferences.
My perspective.
Yeah. That's your opinion.
But I've tried it raw. I've tried the full spectrum of octopus.
I have not. I have not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe you
I
just
got no
need to try
interest.
it. Yeah.
So, but this format started as like just photos, right, on Instagram.
Yeah, it was just photos.
Just photos on Instagram.
And then there was videos. And then someone was like, you should put those on TikTok. And then nothing happened. And then I was like, cool. And then I started posting like other stuff in addition to that on TikTok. And that's when, and it's like was slowly taking off. I mean, I used to post on TikTok like 17 times a day. I used to do this series. I think I deleted it because I didn't want PETA to like eat me up. But like I used to like try to like find the places that would like give me straws. Because like people don't use straws anymore.
Sure.
They don't. Like, you know how Beyonce is like, people don't make albums anymore.
Yeah.
People don't use straws anymore. And that was something I felt really passionate about at the time.
I feel passionate about using straws.
Me too.
I use straw every day.
Use paper straws?
I don't.
He's
Good.
pretty
You
anti-
shouldn't.
I'm
You
also
shouldn't.
anti-paper straw.
I am.
Yeah.
But you know who's done it right? The bamboo straw.
It's okay. It's not my favorite.
Really? It's
You know what I
really?
hate?
Yeah.
A metal straw.
Wow.
Yeah. You know what else I hate? Water in a can.
Understood.
What was your question?
Where were we? What were we talking about? Oh, it started as photos, then you went to TikTok.
Congrats on all your success. Really great.
What else? You were posting like other shticks on TikTok.
I was
call them
doing
shticks.
like little bits. Like I
Yeah.
would do like stitches of things.
Yeah.
I had these like weird bits. Like I was like, if I hit 10,000 followers, like I'm gonna sing Titanium by David Guetta for 3 minutes straight and perform it and post it. It's still up there. Do you remember this? But I won't fall. I am titanium. I would do like I would made my friend Alice take my phone and I sang Titanium front to back. I learned the entire song. And I was like, this is everyone's treat for 10,000 followers. And then I also, like, I would do, like, lunch vibes. I'd be like, I can't stop thinking about what I'm gonna eat for lunch tomorrow. And I would do, like, whatever I'm eating for lunch that day. Like, there was little bits. But then they started to, like, really get refined, like, once the skits came into play.
And those skits were like the reenactments.
Yeah.
Or like reacting to comments. Right?
Yeah.
Like people would put a comment in and you would react.
It was like virtual crowd work, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are really funny.
Thank
And
you.
from my understanding, you went from 10,000 followers, you sing Titanium. That's like big milestone.
Yeah.
From there, you pretty quickly get to 60,000 followers.
Yeah, it was, so I hit 10,000. I literally think I was driving back. I was in the desert for New Year's with my friend. I just don't think I think I stopped paying attention. And right when you stop paying attention is when things kind of like start to like shift. because I think maybe that's when I started like really just like becoming like myself. And like I got to 60,000 by like the end of February. And then like I posted, there was 2 skits. It was 3. I had done 3 at that point, all in the same day. It was Bill Clinton denying his relationship with Monica Lewinsky, Isaac Newton figuring out about gravity, and then Paul Revere like telling people about the British.
About the British. That one's so
And I was like telling it as a sense that like, don't be mad. Like they are gonna come tonight. And Brett called me and she was like, wait, you're going, like you gained like 10,000 followers in a day. And then it was 20,000 followers. And I was like, oh my God, and for some reason I was like nervous. And I was like, but I was so excited, obviously. And then like, I was like, okay, like, wait, I think I'm gonna hit 100,000 tonight. Let's all celebrate in, it was my old apartment at the time in West Hollywood. We all sat down and we celebrated and pretty sure we did like a Taylor Swift sing along and like, and then that night, after that, I was like, okay, like let's do some more skits. This is so fun. And that night I did the John Hancock one and like the dinosaur seeing the comet. Yep. And I woke up to 250,000 followers.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, okay, like should we keep it going? And then I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, doing it. And then by the end of the week, it was at 1 million.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Then, yeah.
Did you feel the impact of that in your everyday life immediately? Like in terms of people recognizing you, things like that?
I mean, I literally am so delusional that like I thought I was like an A-list celebrity when I had 10,000 followers.
That's so good.
So like I think at first maybe no. Actually, yeah, I can confidently say no because I felt very out of place at events and stuff. I remember being like, wait, I don't think I should be here. I remember, oh my God, I remember like I wanted to like crawl out of my own skin. It took time definitely to adjust. I feel like I always have imposter syndrome. I remember having it when I started my full-time job at first as well. Like it just, I had to grow out of it. But now I think I'm definitely feeling like a little more comfortable. But I think it happened very kind of like gradually to the point, I mean the week was jarring, but it was more so exciting than it was jarring. It was like, yay, like, yay. And then it died down. And then you just like, and then everyone around me, I just had really good people around me. Like my boss at the time, like, it's like, I will manage you. And that felt like a very natural transition.
Yeah.
So like, because of that, like, it felt very natural to me.
Yeah, and that's like a very, like to have a safe person as this is happening, who you know has, you know, at least some of your best interest in mind is so important.
It is so, they just like, my whole thing was like, it's just so like everyone around me knows me so well. Like if you're around me for more than like, I don't even know, like a week at this point, like you'll fucking know me. Like, and so like everyone around me at the time really knew me. They knew how excited I was. They knew how to like work with me and how to talk to me. And like, I'm also a very anxious person. So that like, it was like a whole new layer of anxiety that I had to deal with. And like, there was like a lot of hurdles.
So when this was happening, did you have, like when I was younger and I would go on a first date, I would like play out our entire life together.
Yeah, if you don't do that, you're not normal.
Right. So did you do that thing with your career? Like,
wait, I've done that like since I was like a child. So
I thought you were about to say I've done that since I've been here.
No, I
like,
have. Because I always think about the future and how things are going to play out, which is bad because I don't live in the moment. It's something I'm working on. I'm also a really bad listener. But yeah, I do that. And I did do that.
And what did you think? Like, okay, now I have 250,000 followers on TikTok.
Oh, I was like,
what's the
next year? Oscar? Like I'm winning an Oscar. Dad, Louise, am I Oscar?
Yeah.
You wrote your acceptance speech. Yeah.
Many times, rehearsed it.
Dead ass. Like, I think I did.
Yeah.
Like, I thought I was going to win an Oscar. And then I was like, and then once I became comfortable in not knowing what was happening and kind of just like letting things happen, that's when my podcast was born. And then like things started and I was like, oh, like I really enjoy this. And like, I enjoy hosting and I enjoy like bantering with guests and like, you know, I don't need to win an Oscar.
But it'd be nice.
It'd be
and it'll happen
awesome.
at some point.
But like
you're
at
prepared
the
if it
time,
does
I was like,
yeah.
I'm gonna be a serious actor. Like just letting everyone know now. Like,
can we talk about the shift from, you know, TikTok and short form content to long form content?
Yes.
You have one amazing line about TikTok where you say it's like FaceTiming with a friend.
Yeah.
That's what it should feel like.
Yeah.
And that is like first of all, I think that's amazing training on how do I be myself on camera.
Yeah.
But it happens in like smaller bits. Launching a podcast is like, hour plus long.
Right.
So, and that's a shift that I think a lot of creators struggle with. A lot of creators have explosive growth on TikTok or on YouTube Shorts or Instagram, but then struggle to find what a long form format is for themselves. It feels like you and Brittany Broski both successfully went from short form content to long form.
I was really scared about it. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. And as I said at the very beginning, it's just like really about the people you have around you. Like when you're like, I'm very insecure. So like I need constant like affirmation that like what I'm doing is okay. But like, I think the reason it was okay is because it really did start with my best friends, the podcast.
Yeah.
And that's like, I was like dipping, it's like getting like to the pool slowly,
Yeah.
And I think and I was really scared. I was like, I don't want to be just another podcast in the void. Like if I'm going to do this, like I'm going to make this my entire personality.
And what were your differentiators when you were creating the show? Like, did you think about like, okay, the branding of the show is going to be like this, or my personality is going to be like this, or the bits are going to be like this?
It kind of just I wanted an element of crowdsourcing.
Okay.
So that's where the Tell Me What's Wrongs came from. I was like that. People like those on my Instagram stories. That will be part of my podcast. I want that element. I want to feel like I'm speaking to something or someone.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I just don't want to feel like I'm talking to a wall. Like I'm talking to someone that's watching. And I think from there, it just kind of like continued to sector off into different things.
I feel like one of the differentiators also is your ability to get guests. That is a big differentiator. Like like you said, I would not be surprised to see anyone on your show, which is exciting.
Thank you.
Like that's an exciting thing to
I'm very relentless. Like, as I said, like I remember telling Glenn about the podcast in January and he was like, of course I'll come on. And I was like, great. When?
Yeah.
Like, when do you want to do that?
I love that.
And like, I keep following up. I keep following up. Like I just remember like when I was first launched it, like any like big person that had like slid in my DMs before, like said they thought I was funny, I just cold DM'd and was like, do you want to come on? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of them said no. A lot of them didn't respond. And then some said yes. And then I had Renee and Tate on. And then like I had a bunch of like, I don't know. It all kind of started working.
When I watch Therapuss, I get the sense because a lot of them are friends and they're like media and entertainment, LA centric. I feel like I'm getting an insight into whatever like the current scene is in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And this may be like too objective for you, but do you feel that right now with like you and your friends that you are a part of Hollywood right now? Because I feel like when you look back at history, it's like, oh yeah, there was like Leonardo DiCaprio and his crew.
No, I don't feel that way.
You don't feel that way?
I don't, just because I have the same exact people around me before. So it just kind of feels like the same. Like I end every day the same as I used to end every day. Like I sit on my couch, I smoke a joint, and I watch TV with my friends. So like that doesn't feel Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I don't feel like I'm.
But you start your day working out with celebrities at the Aloe Gym.
Well, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, don't get that twisted.
Well, yes.
But even like, yes, that and going on stage, whether it's at Tate McRae's show or Zach Bryan.
Yeah.
Jake Shane, is that you?
There is an element of like entertainment is your playground in a way that is so intoxicating.
I love that. Thank you. I feel like I can't even think about that because like in the moment when those things happen, all I can think about is how anxious I am every single time.
Yeah.
And then I can't like in those moments, I can't even be like, woo, because I'm like,
Yeah, I do appreciate
in the
that.
Zach Bryan clip, I trip. And that's all I thought about the rest of the time. I was like, I just tripped. And I also knew I was going to trip. I fucking knew I was going to trip.
You manifested it.
I literally did.
Along the way, what have been some of the biggest moments of validation for you of like, oh, this is possible?
Okay. I'm trying to think of like the best. Okay. I want to give you like a really good answer. So I'm really trying to think like what moment was I like, let's fucking go. Oh, when I sold out my tour.
Yeah.
When I sold out my tour, that was insane. When I launched my podcast and it did well, I was very surprised, and that I was shocked by. And then also, every time I get like a crazy guest on the podcast, like that feel like when Glenn came on, I was like and when Ed Sheeran came on, I was like, oh my God. Like that's when I was like, okay, this is clearly anything is possible because Ed Sheeran just came on Therapuss.
Totally. I remember seeing that. And Therapuss has been incredibly like, it's almost felt so, I don't want to say like orchestrated, but I looked at it from the outside and I remember talking to you at Cannes about this. The first thing I asked you was like, how are you getting these guests?
Yeah.
And then when you're like, oh, I'm DMing them.
Yeah.
I was like, that is amazing.
I, again, was delusional. Like, and it really is. And I really, I would just like not leave people alone. Like, I would be like Glenn would be like, of course I'll come on. And I'll be like, okay, so what's your publicist's email?
Right.
Yeah.
And then like, I'd be like, let's follow up. Like Glenn said, yes. So where, like, you know, and then, but then also like, my two friends, Tate McRae and Renee Rapp came on. And that really changed the whole podcast. That changed everything because it showed people it's a guest friendly podcast kind of, and then just from there people were like coming on, and I was reaching out, and people were coming on, and then like when people say yes, like I just don't let up after that. I'm like, oh, you just said yes, like okay, so are you coming on? Like I don't really have much. What's the word? Like not shame. I don't know. Like I
get it.
Yeah.
You know what
No shame in following up.
Yeah, like I don't care.
And being
Like,
persistent.
Is unabashedly a word that could be used here?
Unabashedly persistent?
Yeah. I'm shameless.
Shameless.
Yeah. So I guess without shame. Yeah.
I also feel like you have an amazing ability to be friends with a lot of people. Like authentically friends.
Thank you.
And that's obviously outside looking in, but that to me is so much of the fun is like you sit down with Glenn Powell and I'm not like, oh, he didn't just like get Glenn Powell and now Glenn's like, what am I doing here? Like it feels very authentic. And same thing with Tate McRae. It's fun to sit and get to experience friendship.
Yeah.
Right? You feel like the third member when you're watching. You're like,
yeah. And I think that was the goal. I mean, the goal was I want it to feel like a hangout, but I also do think some of the episodes that are the best are the ones where I come in and we don't know each other at all, and then we leave like friends.
Totally.
So like,
was Role Model that way?
Yes.
Okay.
Like that was the one I was thinking of. Like that we left. Like what the fuck just happened? And same with like
I just love. Sorry, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I love in the intro for Role Model where you said something. You were like, "We found out we couldn't be more different, and we never came to a similarity."
We didn't.
You're like, and I was like,
nothing in common.
Who says that in the beginning of an episode? But you were like, but it makes for an interesting watch.
Yes, and I love watching it and like seeing how comfortable like even I and the guest gets like throughout the whole thing, like especially in like the Charlie XCX one. Like I was very intimidated at first, and then by the end, like you know, like we like were like friends at that point, and it was awesome. It's awesome. I love when that happens.
You also do something with Therapuss that I actually took a lot of inspiration from. Of course, you get like big name guests, and there will be an element of people are searching for Glenn Powell. Right. So whether they know you or not, it's like, oh my gosh, there's Glenn Powell. I'm going to watch that. But you also, no matter who it is, the first like 5 to 10 minutes, the guest isn't even on the show yet. And you're just talking to the audience about whatever you want to talk about that week, whether it's like Beyonce's album art coming out or like an album, a different album, a song you really like or something like that. And that I think is really important that you're setting the tone that like before Glenn Powell, my audience actually comes first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My
like,
audience comes first. Always.
Which I think we actually have a lot of fear around that in the way that we do some of our interview episodes. I don't think if we were to have Ed Sheeran on the show right now, we would take the first 5 to 10 minutes to just riff with each other and show like our friendship and what matters to us before we get to Ed. Because we'd be like, oh, you'll leave. They came for Ed Sheeran.
No, my thing is like, if you're coming on Therapuss, like you're in for the bet. Like this is Therapuss. Like you see it in the Ed Sheeran episode where I started off with hi pussies, and he's like so taken aback, and I don't flinch because I'm like, no, you're either doing this or like, are we doing this or what?
Yeah.
Like, where you're in for the bet or you're not.
Hi, pussies. Welcome back to What a way to start.
I really respect that. I think like that's how you grow a community that will show up for you in theaters.
Thank you.
Yeah. By the way, just to go back to your tour, the New York Palladium seats, I think 2,100 people, and that is sold out. And I don't know. I just like took a step back and I was like, 21 cities with these venues in the 1,000+ range. It's fucking hard.
I know. That's been my favorite. Oh my God. Back to your question about what's a moment where you're like, this feels possible. I'll tell you. I was in Fayetteville, Arkansas with Louise, and I had never done any live thing ever. And I was speaking at the University of Arkansas. And I was like, I just like was in this really weird place where I just come up with the idea for Therapuss and we had just decided to do it, but there was no cover art, there was no episodes, we didn't have Nolan yet, like we had nothing. And I just I was feeling, couldn't do the skits at the time. I was so insecure. And I was like, no one's gonna show up for me. And they all showed up for me in Arkansas. And I was like, oh, I love being on stage. Like 40 people could be here right now and I would be having the time of my life. So I think touring is gonna be like my favorite thing in the entire world.
I heard you say that you thought live touring would help bridge the gap between you being a digital creator and someone who's more a part of like traditional media. Why do you think that?
Just to show that I can do it unfiltered. I don't need like post-production. Like I can get up there and make you laugh without having to like go back and edit. It's kind of how I thought about it. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that is the essence of hosts on live TV.
Yeah.
Right? Who can do it. Like Andy Cohen.
Right.
Can on New Year's Eve or Watch What Happens Live. Like he's just good.
Yeah. I think I just want to show people like I can play off a crowd. I can come prepared. I can perform. I can entertain you.
So can we go back to the Therapuss first episode? Because you said you came prepared for that in terms of like segmenting out the show.
Yeah.
Again, back to my perspective on you being a writer, like that is a writer thing to do, right? Like let's write the show.
Yeah.
Let's write formats and segments. I imagine you're doing that for the live show, obviously.
Yes, but you got to be careful because part of my humor is the off-the-cuff unpreparedness.
Sure.
So like I'll have prompts, but like I won't write out the rest of the bit.
Got it.
It's like, okay, like bullet points almost. Like, okay, what am I pissed about today? This is what I'm pissed about. I'll talk about that. I'll riff off of that. It's a lot of riffing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that comes from, I feel like that was really shown in the comments, like you reacting to comments on TikTok.
Yeah.
So when I think about what Colin said about Therapuss, that it's like your show, you're in your world.
Right.
Like that also exists at the back half. Like the call-ins are unbelievable. Those are so fun. Like people reacting to you calling them is so fun. And
sorry, continue.
well, I was just going to say that there is this thing that's maybe subconscious, but as an audience member, to hear the embodiment of yourself in another audience member, I actually think is really important. Where it's like, I'm not alone here. There's real people listening and as engaged as I am, and I am one of them. And then you start living in the world of, I was listening to an episode yesterday, and I was like, what if I called in? What would that be like? What would I talk about? And there's a level of engagement that's very different when you do something like that.
Everything I've done that's worked has been because it's interactive with my audience. I'm very close with them. Like we talk all the time, like really and truly, like every Wednesday in the YouTube chat, like we're talking, how was your week? What's going on? And just the call-ins felt very natural. It was like, you guys are let's make you guys a part of the show.
Yes.
Like I don't have a live audience, but I have you guys, and like, let's start calling in. Let's just have fun with it.
So can you talk to me about some of the differences between Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube? Because when I look at YouTube also, your short form content on YouTube doesn't hit in the same way, right? Like you posted some of your TikToks to YouTube. But culturally, those are very different environments.
Right.
And I'm just curious your perspective on those three.
I don't really know how to, as I said, I didn't really grow up on YouTube. So I don't really know how to, maybe crack YouTube would be I do my podcast and I put that on YouTube, but that's about as far as I'm like good with YouTube. But TikTok and Instagram, it's funny. I take Instagram way less seriously than I take TikTok. And I remember it's the week TikTok blew up, everyone was like, or my account like really blew up. Everyone was like, okay, well, you should start posting on Instagram. And I was like, well, what if I just like post on it like a spam account kind of? And that's what I did. And people really gravitated towards it. And then I was like, okay, I'll just keep doing that. And then like, I don't know, like it's just, Instagram feels more casual to me. I don't know, maybe because I have a bigger audience on TikTok. I think.
So you feel like the stakes are high, right? Like, do you feel that way if like you're to post a TikTok right now? Do you feel like the stakes are high or no? Do you feel like
It seriously like depends on the day. Sometimes I'm like, it could not matter any less. And then sometimes I'm like, this TikTok like will be on CNN by tomorrow at 3. Like really and truly.
Yeah.
How do you rank them from a business perspective? Like the importance of TikTok versus Instagram versus YouTube?
I think when you have a lot of subscribers on YouTube, I think that holds the most longevity. I think. Because that's like long form content. If you have 9 million subscribers on YouTube subscribing to your long form content,
Yeah.
I think that holds a lot of like longevity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think TikTok is the most zeitgeisty, but also the most fleeting in a sense. So it can go away just as fast as it comes. And I think Instagram's kind of smack in the middle.
Yeah, it's interesting. Instagram is like I have such a weird relationship with it because I think of where it emerged in my life. You know what I mean? Like when it first emerged, like we were adults.
Right.
When it emerged. You know what I mean? We were in our 20s. So it was just
You were in
like,
your 20s when Instagram?
right?
No, you weren't.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we were.
I think we were like 20.
I mean, we're both 35, so
Yeah.
shocked.
That was Jake realizing he should get off this show.
Yeah.
No,
It's
I'm
where-
just
He
saying,
just looked
no.
at the camera and he was like,
We're
Louise,
leaving now.
call the car.
I'm just saying, I was like, no, I think you must have been a teenager. No, but then I remembered I was 12, so you were 23.
Yeah,
So-
but it was strange.
It was strange.
when it came
It's-
out. I
so,
didn't know
like,
what to do with it.
I just have like a weird relationship with it now. Like I
Yeah.
just don't get it anymore. It's like a place where like, it's a weird place where my friends are, but also like people are making money and there's professionals on it too. And it just doesn't like connect. How does Jake Shane make money? What's the business of being Jake Shane?
Brand deals, podcast audio deals,
Tour.
tour. I try not to like think about it. It gives me anxiety.
Okay.
I get like really bad like financial anxiety.
Oh,
I just
really?
like remember I grew up during like I remember the recession really well,
Yeah.
and I remember like everyone fighting, and I have a lot of financial anxiety from that. Like I am always anxious about like losing money, and like so I try not to think about it, and I try not to spend a lot either.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And is that like, so you don't pour yourself into like you're not like making spreadsheets and deeply understanding your finances. You're
Nope.
more like just someone else handle that. Let me,
As long
make
as
sure
I
I'm
can
safe.
do like simple things,
Yeah.
like we're good. Like as long as I don't drive,
Yeah.
can I Uber? Like, or I can Uber, we're good.
Is there a way that you like making money versus not? Meaning like
Yeah.
brand deals for creators is typically the lion's share of everyone's revenue, right?
Right.
Like it's either brand deals, a mix of brand deals or advertising from the platforms, right? And then there's obviously host-read podcast ad reads, there's touring. But like when you look at your career over the next 3-5 years, is there a particular way you want to be, like projects that you want to be doing, and that's what's driving your income? Or are you okay with like a healthy mix across all these things?
I want to turn Therapuss into a modern day, like late night for Gen Z.
Cool.
And that is how I want to make my money.
Cool.
I want to turn it into like a modern day Ellen DeGeneres show for Gen Z, where there's performances and there's people, and talent and whatnot. But that is, when I started Therapuss, I quickly realized that I wanted to feel like a modern day late night show.
I'm curious about how you see that concept of like a late night show materializing, because you're clearly like a TV fan.
Yeah.
Like you come from an era, or you've just enjoyed television.
Yeah.
And we come from the time where like you turned on the TV and just whatever was on was on.
Right.
And so like that was like,
Oy.
yeah, that was it. It was at prehistoric times.
Old.
But
Old.
how do you see that showing up? Is that like on YouTube? Is that like, what does that look like? What does the modernization of a late night show look like? Because a lot of the
On a
conversations-
streamer.
On a streamer.
On a streamer.
Because Jimmy Kimmel recently said that like late night's gone.
No, it's not.
In 10, 15 years.
Well, that's if someone doesn't pick it up and save it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a great crop of young comedians, and I think it's absolutely savable.
And how do you make it, like, what's the next iteration of it? Like when you think about different formats, or like, is it the same kind of thing as late night? Like guest comes on,
Yeah,
you
but
promo a thing, and
It's just the way you're communicating. Like, it's the same thing, but you're communicating differently in a way that Gen Z can understand and wants to understand.
talk to me more about
like,
that.
you know what I mean?
How does
Like,
Gen Z want to?
They want a casual conversation. Like, they want to sit there and like, just, they don't want, Gen Z's smart. Gen Z's smart. They know when you're there and you have pre-approved stories and you're sitting there PR prepped and you're just giving answers. Like, if you're just like coming up and you're talking shit for 20 minutes, like, that's going to work and people are going to care about that and want to see that. People like to see celebrities in really casual settings.
Yeah, I actually think a great example of that is, we brought it up so many times, but the Glenn Powell interview on Therapuss.
Oh, thank you.
Because there was like that story he told about his sister's friend.
Yeah.
And like that going on a date and then finding out this guy's a cannibal, like that traveled. That story traveled quite a bit.
I didn't even know it as far as it traveled until it showed up on my friend's boyfriend's Twitter. So that means it was on straight Twitter.
It was on my Twitter.
Yep. And I was
where I
like,
saw it.
shut the fuck up right now. And then, when I really knew, that's when I really knew. I was like, oh my God, I think I have a good thing going with this podcast.
But that in the traditional late night setting, that would have to run through a producer and be like a pre-approved story, exactly like you said. Like late night, the way it works.
The way it works now.
People don't know how late night works today. It's like you get on a call with a producer, you run through these stories, then host is going to prompt you into those stories. You stay on track with the agreed upon narrative. Right. So in a late night world today, Glenn's going on, Colbert or something like that, or one of the late night shows. He's probably not telling the cannibal story.
Right.
But to the credit of streamers, they are doing things differently. Like what John Mulaney did with like everybody from LA. Like that was strange and weird and different.
Or Kai Cenat.
Like some of these things, he's like going live from like a deli in New York City.
Exactly.
People are just reimagining what this looks like. And I think, a lot of it happens on Twitch, a lot of it happens on YouTube, but I do think there's this area opening up on streamers, like you're saying, that like it's not going to be on cable.
No.
Right?
No.
They're just like, they're too stiff, they're too stuck in those ways, and they have too many restrictions. But streamers actually can pick up that show. And they might even be able to pick it up in a way where it's like, we actually don't have a set amount of time that you're going to speak to the celebrity. Like we actually have like wiggle room and it's just going to go.
Right.
So like,
and maybe
what's the worst that can happen? Someone watches for an hour?
Right. And
like,
maybe that
great.
means less a week because, late nights every night. Maybe that means less. Maybe that means once or twice a week. But it would still be there. It would still be happening. I don't know.
I actually think my next guest with David Letterman was a cool.
I love that one.
It's a cool iteration.
I love that one.
That's a big inspiration for us of where we want to go. Is like
I totally see
in
that
the
for you
future,
guys.
instead of just doing this, there's an element of us like going to your live show or something.
Right.
It's intermixed.
Right.
Yeah. I do. That's really cool. I see that. And I actually think the necessity for it is not just like, okay, we need late night to be reimagined. We also need a healthy bridge between the traditional entertainment business and digital platforms.
Yeah.
That's so funny you mentioned that. That was my goal for Therapuss. I wanted to bridge traditional media and digital media together because they are like they should be together, or they are becoming together. And there's not really like a late night show that has a strong traditional media guest and like a healthy mix of both. And I wanted a mix of both on mine.
Yeah, and because from the audience perspective, they're spending their time watching across just whatever is interesting. They're giving their attention across both. And it's kind of weird how segmented they've been, right? I guess it's natural. But I do feel like the thing that we've talked about is that you are bridging it.
Yeah.
And it's cool to hear that was your intention because it does feel like that.
You know who else was really good at that? Was Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Really good at that.
She was really good at that with like her pranks and stuff that would show up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or even just like, and these were more bits, but like when there would be a viral sort of breakout star on a platform, she would have them on the show.
The Damn Daniel kids.
Yeah, the Damn Daniel
Sophia,
kids.
Grace, and Rosé.
Yes.
She was very good at understanding what was culturally relevant and immediately
hopping on that.
Hopping on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good comp. I like that.
But she wasn't from the world,
True.
which is very different for you. Yeah.
Right.
Where does your desire for acting fit into that future?
I don't know. I kind of, with acting, I was like, if I throw myself into it, I know I'm going to hear no so many times. So I need to pursue other things on top of that. And if acting works out, then amazing. But like Glenn told me, he was like, trust me, Jake, like focus on your podcast. He was like, focus on your podcast. If acting comes, it will come. But like you have a good thing going with this. Like don't like not care about it just because you want to do like acting.
So your historical reenactments on TikTok feels so prime for SNL specifically.
Yeah.
If SNL called, would you take that call? Would you go? Would
Yes,
you move
of
mountains
course I
to do
would.
that?
Of course I would. Of
You
course
would?
I Yes, it's SNL.
You have so much going on right now.
You sound like Louise.
For context, Louise is your manager.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, it's SNL. Of course I would. I
Yeah, and
love
you're-
it. Like,
But is that something
SNL.
you care enough about to pursue?
yes. Yes. I don't know why I'm saying this like angrily. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
it seems like you're getting upset with Colin.
The tone that we have is that I'm attacking you
you ever say
with
something?
praise.
No, do you ever like say something and you're like, oh my God, that was my Debbie Ryan moment?
That literally never
Lost
happened.
on me.
Yeah.
You don't,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm always
Please
on
explain.
the move. You've never seen the clip?
Do you want to cue it?
Yeah, like, well, it'll probably be right here.
Okay, cue it.
Well, I think we're gonna have to watch it to give any
Oh, okay.
reaction to it after.
Oh, you want me to pull it up?
please.
Louise, will you pull up please, Debbie Ryan on the red carpet? It's seriously exceptional. And every time I speak, sometimes I'm like, that was my moment. That I just sounded like that.
So that was just the Debbie Ryan moment.
Or like, have you seen the clip of Selena Gomez being like, we got a little pink going on? You've never seen that either?
I've not seen
I
that.
feel like
You got it up?
I just feel like I didn't do the right prep.
Okay. This is it.
I went into the Disney Channel building and I sat down with the president of Disney Channel and I said, I want to make history. And that's what this is.
She's like, I'm always on the move. That's what I sound like.
Yeah.
Yes, if SNL called, I would answer. And
But you're a New York
Sprint.
kid too, right?
Yes.
Like, did you grow up going to the theater in New
Yeah,
York,
with
in
my
Manhattan?
mom.
Yeah. Like was performance and theater like a big part of your childhood?
Yeah. I loved going to Broadway plays with my mom. Saw Wicked, Fun Home, Mamma Mia.
And when was the
There.
moment where you were like, oh, I'm gonna be a performer?
So it's funny you say that because I actually was like, so I'm not going to be a performer. Like I did theater as a kid. And then it was like, I got to high school and I was like, no, I can't be doing that. I can't do this. And I was just too like insecure and too shy. So I didn't pursue it. And then like by like junior year, I was like just very focused on getting into, or by sophomore year, actually, I was very focused on getting into the school I wanted to get into. And then after that, I was like, I'm gonna work in PR. So I spent my summers doing like internships and jobs, like in like marketing and PR. And I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna work in PR. Like maybe I'll be a publicist. And then I went to school. Still performing was the last thing on my mind. And then COVID hit, and I remember like feeling like, ugh. Like, why am I like having regrets right now? Like, you know what I mean? Like, didn't you guys have like regrets during COVID? You're like, why am I like having
Yes.
regrets right now?
That was a moment to like reevaluate your
Yes.
entire self.
And you're like, why? And I was like, why didn't I pursue what I wanted to as a kid? Like, obviously, I'm happiest when I'm like making people laugh and on stage. I was like, why didn't I do that? And then so I just, but still, I was interning at the time at a record label, which ended up turning into a full-time job, which I could not have been happy. It was probably the happiest I've ever been. I was like, I love music so much. I loved working in music. I loved the people I worked with so much so that my boss became my manager. Like he made the environment so comfortable that like I showed up to work like as my full self, which I kind of guess led me here is how I like.
yeah.
Meaning like at work, you got to
Like,
make people laugh and you felt comfortable.
Yes.
being,
And I would
okay.
show him like videos that I would make and he would laugh instead of being like, what? Like, no. Like he was always like, you know, if anything ever happens, I'll manage you. And then like 2 years later, like when something happened, he actually.
That's really cool.
That's a lot of validation then. That's big from like you in high school who thinks I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like this is something that won't work for me. I'm not that type of person, to being essentially like a young adult in that environment, and I can, like, people believe in me.
It's all about who you surround yourself with.
I'd imagine that there's like going into PR or like entertainment behind the scenes or entertainment tangential. I imagine there's so many people, including myself, who have a deep fear of like, I actually want to be the performer, but I'm a little too scared and that's too aggressive of a dream.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go behind the scenes.
Yeah. I think that's what I thought. I was like, I want to work in entertainment, but I'm like, notoriously, I do love attention. Like, I think I wanted to be I know I wanted to be the entertainer.
And for me, that became very clear when I saw you post these videos to Instagram.
Did you like the book to begin? Can you turn the sound off?
Mm-hmm.
Did you like the Harry Potter book to... Did you like the Harry Potter... Did you like the Harry Potter books to begin with? Or did the movies just ruin
What
it
was I
for you?
reviewing in that? Oh, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
You know, I hadn't even
Did you
seen
like the
Harry Potter.
books to...
I hadn't even seen it.
But like to have the
Aw.
the guts to like sit in front of a camera and do that.
I just had no fear. And then suddenly I got to middle school and I was like, wait, nope, never mind.
But you also have self-awareness in that video. Like, you're rehearsing the right intro for the Harry Potter review, and you do it once, and you're like, that's stupid. That's not, that's not gonna work. And I'm looking at this like little kid, and I'm like, how does he know that when it comes out of his mouth that like, oh, that wasn't right, I need to redo it?
I think it's because my parents are very like, they were always very like cautious of like what, because like that swings both ways, right? Because like it's great that I have self-awareness, but then I'm also like too self-aware to the point where I like care about what everyone says about me. So like that's kind of like my parents were kind of like that. And so I think I kind of just adopted that from them. And then I also watched a lot of like pop culture stuff as a kid. And like pop culture shows. So I don't know if you remember like Best Week Ever on VH1.
Yeah, of
stuff
course.
like that.
Yeah.
Like, so it was a lot of like people behaving and then being perceived. So I think maybe that's where I like learned how okay, if I'm gonna do it this way, like people are gonna I don't know.
Yeah, no, but actually the deep understanding on how people perceive things
Yeah.
is a common trait among successful creators, right? Obviously, because you're essentially putting things out into the world,
Right.
and then gauging perception. And I actually think brand perception is weighted much higher than traditional performance metrics today.
Right.
Meaning viewership, subscribership, whatever. Like your brand in the world, and your brand, I would say specifically, is very big and it does feel very premium, which I think I look at that and I'm like, oh, that is not easy to do.
Oh, thank you.
But you have to have an understanding of how people are going to receive something from the
Right.
other side. But when you look at those videos, do you think that kid in those videos, like what would he think about where you are today?
Oh my God, he'd be the happiest person in the entire world, which is what I have to remind myself sometimes. He would literally like think I am living his dream amongst dreams amongst dreams. Because I don't even think I thought it was no, I must have thought it was a possibility back then if I was doing those. But I don't know. I don't know. He would be over the moon.
But you might not be so aware of the outcome at that time. At least for me, when I was making videos with my brother, like all it was for was to watch it back.
Right.
Or to show a friend and to be like, oh my God, isn't this crazy? We made this.
Oh, I was uploading them.
You're uploading them to Tumblr, correct?
A critic's point of view, .tumblr. And then I also had a fashion blog.
Did you receive any feedback on that stuff that you were
Yeah,
uploading?
my mom was like, you should brush your hair.
But like, were there people who'd come across the video?
No, I would get too scared and I would delete them.
I see.
I would delete them and I'm like, how at 11 years old was I like, I have to delete this.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's very Bo Burnham, 8th grade. Like the beginning. You never seen it?
Never seen
So-
8th grade.
What's that?
I think that movie opens and it's like a girl in 8th grade in her room making a YouTube video. And she's like starting and stopping and starting and stopping. And you can tell she has this deep other lens that's looking at her objectively.
Ugh.
Right? And I think that's something that maybe our generation, like we were lucky to not grow up with.
Yeah.
But your generation very much so is like always aware of that other eye of like, how will I be perceived?
Yeah.
That's a tough way to grow up, I would imagine.
it's
Like
not.
I'm very thankful that I did not grow up that way.
It's not fun. I don't even remember the time in which I remember. I like remember like the feeling of being perceived, but I think maybe like 6th grade is when like things started to shift, and I like switched schools in 7th grade, and that was like real, like 6th to 7th was like the real, oh, I'm like being perceived, and like how is that gonna affect my decisions? I mean, obviously I thought I was being perceived in that video, but not in like such an extent that I was like, I need to be not that myself.
Yeah. And then throughout high school, was it like, did you have peers that were also into performance and entertainment? Were you watching YouTube at the time? Like, what were you into?
I wasn't watching YouTube. I didn't start watching YouTube until like my freshman year of college, my senior year of high school. I'm a big binge watcher.
Okay.
So there was like a lot of shows I watched. I watched Scandal, I watched Shameless, I watched Homeland, I watched, Breaking Bad, trying to think of like all the shows I watched in like high school that I would like come to school talk. I mean, I was a big Gleek, but like by high school I was not.
Same.
You were?
Big time.
Who was your fave?
Who was my favorite member of Glee? I don't know. I don't think I had like a specific member that I really felt like attached to.
Colin
I
didn't watch Glee.
What?
No. I mean, I remember like,
Wait,
I remember thinking like,
did you watch Glee?
Yeah, wait.
no, I remember thinking
It seems
So
like
what's
you
your
didn't
favorite number?
It seems like you didn't watch Glee.
no, I did
You
watch
can't tell
Glee.
me your favorite number?
As in like the favorite song that they sang? Like,
Did you just,
Girl.
okay, all right.
did you just lie?
I did not lie. I was a big fan of Glee, and I really enjoyed Kurt and his relationship with Corey Monteith's character. I thought that was like a lovely relationship, and I thought it was a very important show.
Does it feel like he read a Wikipedia article about Glee?
No, I was like, but
What was Corey Monteith's character name?
Yeah, like,
yeah, see, that's where I.
Are you serious?
I know, but I did watch
Are
Glee,
you
but it was a long
nuts
time
that
ago.
you're gonna
for me.
bring up
I'm
Glee
just
and
getting
not-
nervous.
No,
that I'm
Finn.
getting
About
tested.
Finn.
Yeah.
Finn, I'm sorry. I just got nervous that I was getting tested on how big of a fan of Glee I was, but I was a big fan.
I was a big Gleek.
Yeah, okay, so I was not as big a Gleek,
My favorite performance is
but you can attest that I did.
he did not have your back. He did not have your back. My favorite performance is Paradise by the Dashboard Light. Do you remember that? Okay, cool. It's amazing.
So you didn't watch YouTube, is what you're telling
No,
us.
I didn't watch YouTube.
When you started being aware of like the internet and people making videos on the internet, who were some of the first creators you were aware of?
Tana, Mojo.
Okay.
Olivia Jade.
Yeah. To me, just back to the like, who is Jake Shane? It's in the way that you address your community and the way that your community engages with you. And I think that is so hard to do, but it can only happen if you are actually that person.
Right. You have to. Well, I always
You're
say that,
authentically a member of your own community.
especially in TikTok, like with every social media platform, I feel like authenticity is like not reimagined, but like further emphasized. So like on TV, you're playing a character. On YouTube, you kind of have to be authentic, but you can still play a character. On TikTok, like you have to be who you are, or else you'll be caught out. And I think I knew that, and I was like, I just like have to be so myself, or this isn't gonna work. Like once I accepted that I am like transparent and like that there's no hiding anything I feel ever, like that's when like it really like I really made the connection with people.
Okay, can you explain this quote I read from you that no, it's not a bad one. It just, you said, I feel like as the podcast gets bigger, I'm losing control of my narrative.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Like as it gets bigger, I feel a little more in the public eye than I was before, which I love. As everyone knows, I love attention. But I also like to be in control of that attention. So when I'm like, as the podcast gets bigger, things get clipped that I'm not clipping.
Yeah.
And then people do with that what they will. And just something that I'm having trouble dealing with.
Oh, that's interesting.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of what gets clipped from our show is about money.
I know that when you guys asked me about money, I was like, fuck.
But
Like,
like the majority of our episodes is not actually about money.
Yeah.
But that can often be the perception
yeah.
because of the clips.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How much money do you have, Jake? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, but that is, I mean, I do think money and creativity, it's like, it's a weird mix because like you first get into it as just like pure like, oh, I want to perform, I want to do something interesting. And then all of a sudden, all these other factors come at you, right? Whether it's like this large group of people looking at you, right? So a big audience that has your attention, and then people cutting your show in different ways, so interacting with your content, and then money as like a validation source and also a ticket to other things, and then status as another thing that you now all of a sudden get to go to certain things or be a part of certain groups. Out of those things, like how would you rank what motivates you the most? Is it just pure creative output, or are there some of these other factors that play into
like
what motivates you to continue creating?
Well, to continue?
Yeah.
Attention. I don't want to be irrelevant. Like, I don't want to be forgotten. My number one fear is being forgotten. So, like, I just want to make sure that people know I'm here.
Why is that one of your fears? Did you feel like that as a kid? Or
there's
like
a Taylor Swift quote.
Okay.
She says, "No one wanted to play with me as a little kid, so I've been scheming like a criminal ever since to make them love me and make it seem effortless. This is the first time I felt the need to confess. I swear I'm only cryptic and Machiavellian because I care." Yeah, so that is the quote I live by.
So that's why.
Yeah, I just...
I've also read a quote of you talking about TikTok being kind of the evolution of reality TV. And I
said that.
You said reality TV in the early 2000s.
What? When did I say that?
It was, well, let me
I think it was with Forbes. You were saying that it's gotten more real
Guys,
and
sometimes
authentic.
I just speak.
It was great.
Really and
But it
truly.
was
Can you
profound.
read me the quote?
Yeah, I can read you the exact quote. Give me a second, Jake. I have a lot on you. A lot of dirt on you.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, those are my tour dates.
Yep. There they are. Okay, one second.
Oh, wow.
I think people really want to see other people's lives. It's almost like TikTok is kind of like what reality TV felt like in the early 2000s.
Period.
You said that in Forbes.
Yes.
So I'm curious for you, like that has been kind of the evolution, right? Like there's been the democratization of voice has created us seeing people's lives, getting a much more raw version of reality TV. What do you think the next evolution is of media?
I don't know. I don't think you know.
You don't know.
That's Puss in Poems.
Puss in Poems. I don't think you know. It's not like I would have told you, oh, it's TikTok back when reality TV was happening, you know?
But yeah, fair. Hindsight's 2020. But we might have been able to been like, as the Kardashians were growing and the real world was growing, like all that, we might have been like, we want more real.
I think digital media is going to become way more traditional.
Well, what is digital and what is traditional? Because everything we watch is on the. Everything is an internet video.
I know. I think
right?
but I think it will.
It's like independent versus.
But I think
produced. Yeah.
I think everything will just kind of Mod Podge into one at one point.
Interesting. Can we ask you what is Thera pissing you off right now?
Of course you can. My stomach hurts.
Do you think it's the cocktail of liquids you've had since,
Yeah,
since we started?
I don't know. I'm pissed off about how like my stomach hurts and I can't stop thinking about it. I'm like, ugh. Because I had like kava before, and like I love kava, but I was like showed up and I was like, oh my God, Louise, like remind me to never have kava before like a podcast interview again. And she's like, girl, I could have told you that. And I was like, I know. And so that's, what are you guys therapist about?
So I was at a restaurant the other night and we were doing like family style, right? And there's one plate. Now I'm a guy who I will clean a plate. I want everything on it.
Same, not
if
because
I
I'm
like
hungry, just like I need it
I just
out of my
need
sight.
it. Yeah. Well, I need everything on it.
Yeah.
I strongly dislike when the waiter comes over and just takes it upon themselves to clear the plate without
asking
or just like,
and then you have to be like, wait.
Yeah. And I hate that. And I never want to be the guy to go, wait, because it's just like one onion, right? And it's like, but
and then you feel awkward being like, well, I'm still nibbling. That actually happened to me yesterday. I was like, wait, I'm still nibbling.
Yeah.
And you have to say that I'm still nibbling. Like,
and you always have to say
awkward.
nibbling. You can't say eating because it's such a small amount.
Yeah.
So that bothers me a lot.
To each their own. I get it. It also bothers me. What about you, Colin?
I would say for me, the other day I went to a birthday party and I wore an outfit that I thought was like an A outfit. Like I thought it was my top billing.
It didn't photograph well, did it?
No.
Oh my God.
It looked like I had like MC Hammer pants on.
The
like,
bane of my existence.
I didn't mean for them to be Jenkos, but they were Jenkos. And then I had this little top. And so I just looked all out of sorts and uneven. And I was like, who am I? Do I even have the body I thought I had?
I once wore an outfit. I now call it Boobgate. And I was in my house and I was like, okay, like chic and cute. And when I would show people on FaceTime, like they would be like, meh. And I was like, oh, well, you just don't get it. You're not in person. So I'm realizing that actually doesn't matter when you're going to an event anymore because it is how it photographs. I literally had double Ds on the red carpet. It was bad. It was, yeah. So I'm pretty traumatized from that experience.
You know, the outfit from the art show.
And the worst is when you're like going a little edgy
That's
with
the
it
outfit
too.
that
I'm telling you, did not photograph well. I felt amazing.
Wow.
But it did
Well, it is
not.
surprising. How you feel. I didn't feel good.
surprising.
Oh my God. I'm thinking about
But now it's like,
sorry.
was I walking around with all this confidence? Yet I looked.
But
know?
confidence is fake, right? That's what I learned in Pilates.
Can you show Jake your TikTok? Because
I'd rather not.
Because Colin tried to make it on TikTok with like 4 or 5.
I didn't try and make
Let me
it.
see.
I just
He
tried
did.
to experiment.
No, he tried. He wanted
No,
to
this
eject
was a
himself
safe
out of
space.
this and wanted to be like he wanted to Timberlake us with his TikTok. But I just
leave the group.
Yeah, leave the group.
I
But
do not want to leave the group. I never want to leave the
I
group.
just want you to explain.
I would rather
explain to Colin
I'd
why
rather
this
you
didn't
man
work.
the keys because I don't want to be a part of this.
Okay, I just want to
I
show you.
really
because-
like this Bruce Springsteen shirt.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And you know what? It's photographing well. I can see.
Thank you, Jake.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey guys, so I've been thinking a lot about what my first TikTok's gonna be, and the first thing I thought about was what's the deal with the fact that we wear clothes all day and we cover our body all day, but then we take off our clothes at night, but then cover ourselves back up with a blanket. So why do we have a blanket at night but clothes during the day?
I honestly think that could have worked if you kept going.
Okay, that was my first one ever. That's my first one ever.
I mean, like I was intrigued. At first I was like, what? And then I was like, wait.
Okay.
You always kind of want to be like, wait, he has a point. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he kind of has a point.
Wait, does he have
So
a
if you
point?
just, like,
Hold on.
if you
Jake.
make
Can we-
that-
huge validation.
Wait,
moment.
Yeah.
can we break down?
Also,
the
this is
point you're
years
making?
old. Like I like.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
It didn't work. I stopped.
The camera quality.
Yeah.
It's higher.
was a
these
potato
days.
chip.
Yeah.
So can we just break down what the issue was you were having? Because you were saying that we wear clothes all day.
Yes.
Then we take off our clothes.
Yes.
And then we put a blanket on.
Yes.
Well, the blanket's like weighted. So it's in a sense, it's weighted. It weighs you down and you fall asleep.
I guess what I was getting at is it felt like this like gray area where.
You sleep naked?
No.
Neither do I.
But like,
So did you lie?
but like, why do we have blankets and not just like pajamas?
Wait,
I do both.
But I mean, what shouldn't it just be pajamas and no blanket?
Why? Then I'm cold.
here we are, Jake.
Oh my God! We can talk about my sleep preferences.
This
So,
was a
you
very
guys,
long segment.
For context, they asked me if I sleep cold before this interview started, and I said, "Oh my God, I will not talk about. Wait for the podcast to start, and I'll talk about my sleep preferences. Are you ready?
Ready.
Please.
The room is on 62 degrees,
So
all
good.
times,
Love that.
all parts of the year. I don't care how cold it is outside.
With you.
62 degrees. If I could go lower, I would. Okay.
Wait, what's stopping you from going lower?
It doesn't let me.
Oh, okay.
And my fan, I have a fan right next to me that blows in my face, just a constant stream.
Okay.
I used to have a bed jet.
What is that?
So it's a tube that you put under your bed that blows hot or cold air under. So when I would get out of the shower, I'd make it hot and I'd get all toasty, and then I'd make it cold because like I hate being hot. Recently, I got sent an 8 sleep.
Yeah. I want one.
I want one
I
badly.
need one.
You hear that, 8 sleep?
Yeah, right?
I got sent
I need
in
one.
from talking about it on my podcast. So just life hack. And I put it on -10, which is the lowest it can go. You fucking guys, it is so cold, it feels wet. Like
I need it.
It is seriously like the cold side of the pillow on all sides. Like,
Wow.
and then it wakes you up with hot vibrations.
I need that.
Yeah, I'm getting so many 8 sleep ads right now because I've like gone to the checkout but just not completed.
Also,
Well,
do you,
don't yet. See,
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. This is a good
Yeah,
opportunity.
see if they'll send it to you guys.
Do you remember when Jake said that he hadn't changed and Hollywood didn't get to him?
Stop. Stop. I told you that. Did I not tell you I said the one thing is my bed?
He makes an exception for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need that. But by the way, that's how cold I like the room
Same.
as well. I need that.
Who the fuck likes it hot?
My brother.
It's like-
my brother.
It's like when someone's like, I like room temperature water. What is wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Mm.
What do you mean?
yeah,
You
I do like room temperature water. Yeah.
You also like liquid in a can. Water in
You
a
like
can.
liquid in a can.
Water. I meant water. Did miss.
So are you going to bring that whole setup on tour? Like the
So it's so funny you
coolant,
mentioned that.
the
So
fan, everything.
Oh. That bus is going to be an icebox. I don't give a fuck. Like, if that makes you uncomfortable, like, we don't need to sleep on the bus. Like, but I need it cold. I need it freezing. I need to be like chattering. Like, I need to wake up like scrambling, like begging for heat. Like, I
like
need
near death night.
Yes.
Okay.
I need it cold. Like, I'm trying to think of like a situation. Like,
Are you good in the cold plunge at Aloe?
Yeah.
Oh, you're good in it.
I love the cold plunge.
How long can you last?
3 minutes.
Oh, that's fine.
That's really good, Jake.
Thank you. I would pride myself in being pretty good at it.
I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
Good in the cold.
Yeah.
So do you like cold temperatures? Like, do you go to...
If I could sleep in the snow, I would.
Okay.
Is how I describe it.
Understood.
Like I love cold temperatures. But then I'm like, ooh, like I'm too cold. Like I grew up in New York and like it would be really cold and then sometimes my hands would go numb. I don't like that. But my thinking is you can always add more layers. Once you're naked, you're like done for. Like, so like how
I'd much rather warm myself up than try and cool myself down. Well, thank you to 8 Sleep for sponsoring this episode.
Allie, can you call 8 Sleep?
Oh, that was fun.
Okay, thanks, Jake.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Yay.
Okay, welcome to the debrief for our episode with Jake Shane. I think if there's anything that you all should take away from this, it's that I have a long career ahead of me making very short vertical videos.
Dude, honestly,
he could have been like, that's awful.
I just have to say, first of all, knowing you, it is surprising you published those videos.
I thought no one sees what you post on TikTok. Like I really, in the beginning, I was like, oh, this is cool because no one's here.
And knowing you, it's surprising you haven't continued. Those are like two things.
How do you know I haven't?
You have?
They have like a secret.
No, you don't.
Secret talk.
You don't. I would know.
You would know.
Okay. Jake said so many hilarious things on this episode, but he also has some really insightful things that I've repeated many times after this episode. And I wanted to talk about the three things that I think make up this recipe of the modern creator of like, what does this next version of a creator look like? And the first thing that really stuck out to me that Jake has is this radical authenticity. And that word is used so like ad nauseum in our space.
Yeah.
But he put it into a sentence that I had never heard before and I've repeated many times, which is that it should feel like you're on FaceTime with a friend. And what I think is really interesting about Jake is that he started in a world where it does feel like that, right? On TikTok, he's like being really honest and vulnerable and open. But when he went from short form to long form, he kept that. Like when you get Ed Sheeran or you get Joe Jonas or you get Brittany Broski on Therapuss, it feels like you're on FaceTime with them too. And he has created environments for that authenticity that is, I think, required because audiences can just feel when it's not real.
And specifically, when you are a podcast host, it is really easy to play to the guest energy.
Of course.
And there are times
we
when,
do that.
I mean, we did that with Jake, right? Like Jake has a certain type of energy and we play to that energy.
Yeah.
But I give a lot of credit to him for just maintaining who he is no matter who comes into his orbit.
Yeah. The one thing that you brought up that I think is so important is that no matter the guest, he opens with his own monologue to the audience. And not actually a monologue. It's like he says like his tummy hurts one day or something.
Yeah, it's not even about the guest.
No. So he's like,
he's filtering for people who just like him and like hanging out with him.
You cannot be a part of that community if you click on a video and you're like, where's Ed Sheeran?
Which is kind of like late night.
Yeah.
Right?
That
like
exactly.
Late night has all of these recurring guests, but you don't tune in for the guest that night. People don't even really know. Like you tune in because you like whether it's Colbert or Myers or Fallon or Kimmel, you pick one of them and you're like, that's the person I like hanging out with.
So I think the future with this world of radical authenticity, one is that the creator has to be confident that the audience is there for them, not for the idea, right? Or not for the guest. And I think we've seen that a few times in the world. It's not anything novel, The thing about Jake that's so interesting is he has such a premium brand. He's now playing in the world of like, you know, Hollywood and traditional entertainment, but he also just put out a comedy album and put it out on his YouTube channel. Like I looked at that and like on the Therapuss YouTube channel. In my world, I look at that and I come from a different generation of you know, content creation, I guess. But I look at that and I'm like, that seems crazy to put it out on the same YouTube channel as your podcast that has like a really consistent brand, a really consistent thing. But he's like irrationally authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when he was here, he was like playing us his music and singing it. And he was just like,
yeah, he was exactly the same off camera as
like,
he was on camera.
Fuck it. I want to put out my album here. You know, and I think that there's a lot less fear that you can sniff out from an audience perspective and a lot more just like, yeah, that's what he's like.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's making fear-based decisions.
Yeah. All right. So the second thing is that he invests really deeply in his community. Every episode that he does with Therapuss has call-ins.
Yeah.
And his community is calling in and telling him what they're therapist about.
And getting the opportunity to speak with Glenn Powell.
Yeah.
And some
crazy.
of these guests that he has on.
It's crazy. And I think that creates an incredibly mobile audience. Call-ins and like respect of the audience that they are a part of your journey constantly.
Yeah.
Like,
and whether you're the person that gets the opportunity to call in or not, those call-ins like are you personified right in the episode.
Yeah, for sure. And that results in being able to sell out to their 2,000 person venues.
Mm-hmm.
Because without that engagement with your audience and that investment in the community, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know how it's possible to sell out those massive theaters that he's selling out. They have such a deep connection to Jake because
he's talking to them on the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And that might sound obvious, but I think it's actually overlooked that
not that many creators
many creators do it. I would love to do it, but it is like, you have to invest in that. You have to think about that. And you have to figure out how to get those call-ins to happen in the show, how to make them interesting, how to create that rapport. He does a really good job at that. And I think the world of content is getting so vast that if I'm going to invest in a creator, I kind of want that creator to invest back in me. I want to feel the push-pull of being a part of a community. And I think he does a great job at that.
I would agree. What's number 3?
Number 3 is bridging the gap. And we talked about this, but I think the modern creator doesn't see a difference between traditional media and digital media. And I don't think Jake does. I don't think Jake walked into the world of content and was like, I am a TikToker.
No, yeah.
Which means I am not a part of Hollywood.
Yeah, he was thinking, I'm a sketch comedian, I'm an interviewer, I'm a host.
So it's not actually bridging the gap. It's almost forgetting about the gap and being like, the gap doesn't exist.
Totally.
I am an entertainer.
Yep.
And
the screen is the same.
The screen is the same. And I think, you know, one of the most interesting parts of this conversation is that Glenn Powell told Jake to invest in his podcast more when Jake said he wanted to get into acting. I actually think that's really good advice because the playing field of entertainment is starting to become one playing field. And when you have a thing that's catching fire, that is not a stepping stone to the other thing.
It is the thing.
It's the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is like, when we started on YouTube, YouTube was seen even by us as like, oh, cool, we'll do this to prove that we can get into the entertainment business.
Yeah. To prove that we could make an episode of television. And we did that once, right?
We did that.
But
I think this is the thing.
We quickly realized like we did make an episode of television. Quickly that episode went out and we worked so hard on it. And you're like, wait, are there comments? How many people saw it? I couldn't grasp it.
Yeah.
And so you realize, the thing that I'm doing is just the thing.
So I think that's the thing. It's like the modern creator does not acknowledge the gap. I think Jake is like the embodiment of that. He's not like, here's digital, here's traditional. It's just like, here's entertainment.
Here's what I make. Yeah.
So that's my perspective on why he's the blueprint.
I like it.
Overall, loved hanging out with Jake. Honestly, he makes me laugh like so hard.
Yeah. It was very hard to like stay on topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To stay on course with Jake is really funny and hard to do, but he's great. He's second season of his podcast is crushing.
His tour is selling out.
Yeah. So thanks so much, Jake, for coming on the show, and we will see you guys next week.